Like most young men my age, there was a time in my life when Call of Duty meant a lot to me. I can vividly remember the day I convinced my mom to take me to GameStop to purchase Call of Duty World at War for my Xbox, and praying that the guy behind the counter didn't warn her about how violent the game really was. Luckily for little 11-year-old me, the employee didn't do his job very well, and I walked out with a game I was definitely too young to be playing. New Call of Duty releases mean absolutely nothing to me now, and they haven't meant anything to me for a very long time. The games are so warped and unrecognizable from anything that made them appealing to me years ago. From the stupid-looking weapons, to the more than questionable collaborations, and these over-the-top takedown animations, Call of Duty has devolved far past anything worth taking seriously. But modern Call of Duty is not the subject of this video. Instead, I'd like to focus on the game that I begged my poor mother to purchase for me all those years ago. I'd like to talk about World at War. More specifically, the game mode in World at War that made me want to purchase the game in the first place. Even more specifically, the music in that game mode that stuck with me all these years later. When I was over at a friend's house one day, I noticed him playing World at War, and I noticed there were zombies in it. And the first question I had is, what do zombies have to do with World War II? To better answer this question, I want to start at the game's inception, and start with the game's developer, Treyarch. The first three Call of Duty titles were all World War II shooters, a very popular genre in the early 2000s. Call of Duty 1 and 2 were developed by a team called Infinity Ward. Then Call of Duty's publisher, Activision, let Treyarch develop a third Call of Duty title. From this point on, a Call of Duty game would be released annually, with Infinity Ward working on one year, and Treyarch working on one the following year. This is actually how Call of Duty games are still made to this very day. With the mild success of Call of Duty 3, Treyarch then began to work on their next Call of Duty title. This would eventually become World at War, but something happened during the development of World at War. Since the titles were being released annually, Infinity Ward was up to bat, and they were going to set the world on fire with their release, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare completely turned the shooter genre on its head. It was clear by this game's release. World War II shooters were out, modern shooters were in forever. Modern Warfare became the best-selling game of 2007, and this was not a pushover year for video games. It had to go up against games like BioShock, Halo 3, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, Uncharted, Super Mario Galaxy, and the Orange Box. The Orange Box is like 3.5 games in one, so needless to say, CoD 4 was pretty popular. You gotta miss the times when video games are actually consistently good. The smell of death in the air must have been absolutely suffocating for everyone working at Treyarch. I can't imagine devoting 2 years of your life to a project that more than likely is going to be your last. This depressing thought definitely bleeds into the game. The whole game has this very dark and morbid atmosphere. The project was very much behind schedule, and to make matters even worse, a lot of the developers weren't even working on the game. They were working on a little side project. Using assets from elsewhere in the game, a couple of developers were able to makeshift a little bunker and fill it with zombies. In a 2015 interview, chairman of Treyarch Mark Lamia would describe zombies as all heart and no brain. It was a passion project by the development team, a passion project that everyone wanted to work on. According to Mark, he'd actually heard about the little side project's existence but decided he wasn't going to completely shut it down until he got a chance to sit down and play it. And when he did finally play it, he found himself in a very interesting situation. Although he did find the little project very fun, it probably wasn't the responsible thing to be working on. In his words, he felt like he really only had two choices. He could either A, shut it down right there and tell everyone to get back to work, or B, he could pretend he didn't see it. Luckily for everyone, he chose the latter. As I said earlier, this was a passion project and a lot of developers were working on it. Most importantly for our story, a sound designer by the name of Kevin Sherwood. I can talk about Kevin Sherwood and his work all day. I absolutely adore the guy. But rather than talk over him, I think it's probably best if I let him explain his role in the project.
The zombie mode, I mean, it just started with a couple of dudes, making it while we were in crunch time in World at War. 24-hour shifts, 48-hour shifts, 6 to 7 days a week, just crazy crunch. And a couple of dudes were just back there making this mode. It was a defense mode, simple mechanic, but everyone was just playing it. Like, we were making a game while making a game. That's how we knew it was fun. It was when you would die, and then the camera would pan over the map for Knocked, Knocked on Toten, that I thought, I have a chord progression that would be perfect for this, and went home and wrote it, and we recorded it and threw it in the game, and that became Lullaby for a Dead Man, which is the first zombie song.
If the game mode weren't such a smash hit, the story probably would have ended here. Kevin writes a little 15-second song and it plays when you get a game over, but obviously this is not what happened. Zombies was the reason everyone bought World at War, and while it wasn't as successful as Modern Warfare, the game was still a smash hit. To capitalize on this success, 4 months after the game's launch, a DLC map pack was made available for purchase. It cost $10 and included 3 multiplayer maps and 1 zombies map. Everybody that purchased this almost bought it exclusively for the zombies map. This was the box art for it. They knew what they were doing. This new map would eventually be titled Verruckt, and while working on it, the audio director convinced Kevin that he should turn his little 15-second chord progression into a full song. Kevin agreed, but stated that he wanted a vocalist to sing on the track. This is when he was put back in touch with someone he previously worked with on a James Bond game. Side note, I've played it. It's a very bad game. It's not fun. Don't even try it. One of the producers on the 007 game was named Elena Sigman, and somebody had told Kevin that she could sing. And so the duo entered a recording booth and recorded until they got the song to a point where they liked it. Now the only problem was, where are we going to put a full song in this game? And their answer was to hide the song. To activate it, you have to come up to one of these toilets and flush it 3 times. The song was found out almost immediately, which is really funny because if you listen to what Kevin has to say, he didn't know if people would ever find it. It seems like such a simple idea, but I don't know, clearly there was something impactful about this, because this would persist to every single zombies map moving forward. When I was telling my friends about this video I wanted to make, I was surprised at just how many of them said Lullaby for a Dead Man was their favorite song. It was just such a lightning in the bottle moment. I mean, who would go through the trouble of writing and recording a song just to hide it away? I can only imagine the excitement of the first people that discovered it. Now, I don't know who the genius was that decided this needed to be a trend, but I'm so glad it is. When you eventually go down on Verruckt, a new Game Over song plays. And so, 3 months later, Map Pack 2 is released, and it's the same deal as before. 3 multiplayer maps, and 1 zombies map. The only one that's important is the zombies map. Even more importantly to this video, a new song featuring Kevin Sherwood and Elena Sigman. This time it's hidden behind a rotary phone. Simply walk up to it and press it 3 times, then the song plays. At this point in the zombies development, there wasn't really too much of a story, so the lyrics have nothing to do with the overall narrative of the game. This would change in Treyarch's next Call of Duty installment, but I think I'll save that video for another day, maybe if this video does well enough. Just like last time, getting a game over on this new map, called Shi No Numa, results in a new game over song being played. At this point I think you know the drill. Map Pack 3 is released and a new zombies map with it. This time Riese. And I don't care how it's actually pronounced, this is the only correct way to say it. This is the first time you have to do any real legwork for the secret song, going around the map looking for these 3 brains in jars, clicking on them to activate it. This song is definitely my favorite of the original 4, and unfortunately this would be the last map pack released for World at War. However, zombies would persist in Treyarch's next games, and that's what I think makes this Game Over song so interesting. When you get a game over on Riese, a little snippet of the next Easter egg song plays just like they have before, meaning fans would have to wait from August of 2009 to November of 2010, over a full year, just to hear this song completed. And it's by far the most popular zombies song. And just like that, the rest is history. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I have no desire to play any new releases of Call of Duty, but I do find it pretty heartwarming that Kevin Sherwood is still putting his music in the games. Even though the games are clearly not for me anymore, it's nice to know that someone can still discover his music through those games. And if you've made it to the end of my video, then thank you very much for watching. I'd like to take this time to thank my 2 channel members, Dr. Someone and Plant Pot Brad. Becoming a channel member really helps me out, and you get access to videos like this early. I try to upload multiple times a week, and I appreciate your support. Thank you all. Goodbye. Also, yes, I'm aware of the little radio on Nocturne Toten. You knife it, and then it plays a bunch of songs, some of which are by Kevin Sherwood. I bet you already left a comment like, oh, you forgot about it. Nope, I knew about it the whole time. I just didn't put it in the video. So So there you go. Sorry, dude.